This video is on cultural lag. Cultural lag is when material culture lags or falls behind non-material culture. So culture, when it changes, when society changes, what changes quicker? Our technology or our values? Easy answer, it's our technology. Technology changes very rapidly. It's changing very rapidly today even. So what happens, technology changes, but the values don't change as quickly. So we get a world that is created by technology. However, the values were not developed for that particular world. In other words, we don't have values yet that have adjusted to the new technology. For instance, when the automobile came upon the scene in society, people started driving and they drove fast, and I'm sure they had a few drinks or two and didn't pay attention, and we started having wrecks. And guess what? We didn't have any laws to deal with how to drive and speed limits and driving while drinking. So this is an example of cultural lag. Technological invention, the car, created a society in which people are driving around all the time, but we didn't have any values. The values were built for riding horses, and we didn't worry about people getting drunk and riding horses, because riding a horse, you get drunk, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fall off the horse, But we needed new values to say, should you drive a car while drunk? Now, cultural lag can result in some very serious problems and issues. For instance, here's a big one: gun control. Now, many people out there, maybe you, feel the Constitution gives us a right to own a gun and have a gun. Because in 1780s, when we founded this country, we have the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment people interpret as saying that we have a right to have a gun. In the 1780s, it probably made sense to have a gun. People lived in areas in which there was no police protection. There may have been wars going on, and they needed it. Okay, people lived in areas in which they had to hunt. They needed the gun to go out there and get food, because we didn't have supermarkets. Okay, so it probably made sense to have a gun in the 1780s, and for many years after that, it made sense. But now let's look at America today. In America today, we have a technology, and this technology that we have, called assault rifles, allows a person who has a gun to be able to go someplace that they're angry and mad, and to really cause a lot of damage, to maybe kill a lot of people. I'm adjusting the camera, okay, guys? Okay? And think about whether that's a good thing or not. To maintain a value that we should have any gun we want, even though we have the technology today to go out with a gun and kill many people. Like in Ohio, and they had that shooting last summer right after the shooting in El Paso. The police were able to get to that guy in less than a minute. The guy was doing the shooting, but he still, and I think about 30 seconds, he killed 9 people. Wow. 9 people were killed in 30 seconds. In 1780s, they didn't imagine that we'd have this kind of weapon, that we'd have a gun that could kill that many people in 30 seconds. Because in 1780s, you had a gun, bam, you fired one shot. You had to pack in more gunpowder, load it again, fired another shot. In 1780s, mass shootings couldn't have occurred because we didn't have the weaponry for it. And we had an entirely different society. People didn't go to stores a lot. They were not crowded as much. So the technology has changed, but the value that we should have a gun has not changed. And we have to think about that. That's an example of cultural lag. Another example has to do with war. Do you know people still divide themselves up, and they hate people because they're from this country, they're from China, or they're from Russia, or they're from the United States, or they're from Iran, or some country. People have all this hatred that we spread around the world. And we have armies. Remember, the military takes up a very large chunk, if not the biggest chunk of our budget. And we're prepared for war because we've always had wars. But here's the problem. Even though the values of having separate countries and that we're going to protect ourselves and we're ready to fight you, even those values are still there, our technology has made it dangerous. For instance, if we start a war today, it could be a nuclear war, and that could wipe us out. But we're dealing with a virus right now. We have the technology right now to develop, we do, and probably many other countries, to develop a virus, a bacteria, that could wipe out most of human life. And you know what? It doesn't take somebody or a country with a lot of money somebody with not a lot of money and not a lot of skill might be able to develop a germ that could literally wipe out most of the human population. So we have the technology that could destroy life, most human life on this planet, and we still have the values of let's divide ourselves up, hate each other, and get ready for a war. That's an example of cultural lag that might do us in. Not a great happy way to end a video, but it shows the importance of cultural lag.